Folks, in this module, what we're going to do is a real-time scenario of creating a hold, deleting a hold prior to arriving at the hold point, and then creating a hold and entering the hold, and then exiting the hold. So at this point, as you see in this scenario here, we're at flight level 360. We're on our way into a major airport, that being Atlanta. But what we're going to do is create a hold here at Teams. And with that, what we're going to do is put ourselves into motion here, create the hold, and continue with a couple different scenarios on creating this hold, managing the equipment in order to verify the hold. So at this point, we're underway. And you can see here that what we're doing is approaching Teams. And at this point, ATC gives us holding instructions and asks if we're ready to copy. When we're ready to copy, the instructions are hold south of Teams on the 360 inbound course, left-hand turns, 10-mile legs, expect further clearance at 1830 Zulu. So those are our instructions. And so as we look to create this hold, what we're going to do is go to the hold page, bring up the hold. And as we've seen before in the previous lessons here, what we've got is what is actually the missed approach hold. So we've got to go to the next hold position. And in this case here, what we're going to do is bring Teams down into the scratch pad and enter the holding pattern in here. And we can see at this point it's creating a hold on the inbound course, but we want to do have an inbound course of 360. So we're going to put 360 in the scratch pad, put it on the inbound course. It needs to be left-hand turns. I could have put the left-hand turn at the same time I had entered that previously, because I've got to enter a slash and then put an L, put it back in this position. Again, I could have done the whole thing at the same time, and then 10-mile legs. So I've got the information in. Now, does this look like it is on the 180 degree radial? Well, I can bring up the center pattern here, and I can see that line is 180, but I got to get this thing executed to enter the hold. So here the hold is established, and you can see once we're in the hold, what the aircraft is doing is turning where it is going to, and then turn back. But I can see that I have a correct holding pattern. I should have maybe had a little bit more distance to show you here, but when I not only verified the 180 being on the south side, and that it is going to be an inbound course back to Teams, I can also see that it's a left-hand pattern. The aircraft is slowing down to best holding speed. The one thing I did not put in here yet is the EFC, so I'm going to enter that here right now, which was 1830. So now I can put that in the EFC time, and if I had enough time, I could have gone and put that all in before I hit the execution, but it's giving me an opportunity to execute again, and now I've got it in there, and in addition to the holding pattern now, it's giving me a hold available time. Now again, I want to emphasize that with the hold available time, that means I can hold for what essentially right now is over an hour. I think it was about an hour 20 minutes of hold, and I can leave the holding pattern, continue on the route into Atlanta, and arrive with somewhere over the 5,000 pounds that I may have had as a reserve in there. But I can go to the progress page, and remember what we talked about. Anytime you enter a hold and you get all the information in there, then go ahead and go to the prog page, and you want to make sure that you check this, because this is an important figure that is calculated for me to arrive at Atlanta with 5,800 pounds of fuel on board when I touch down. Provided everything continues as if the hold is going to be until 1830Z, then we will arrive with this fuel. So never just accept what you put in the hold page without going to this prog page and verifying what the fuel is going to be when you get there. Because right now we've got 16,000 pounds of fuel on board, and the hold time that was given us, that 1830, is going to burn an awful lot of fuel. And obviously, in the real world of airlines, you can be making some decisions along with what your thinking is and what dispatch thinking is as to whether you're going to continue to hold at this position that long. So with this, we've got all the information we need, and we're just going to go ahead and wind up spending a lot of time in a hold. So notice that what we have in the FMC, we've got a hold at teams. In terms of exiting the hold, let's say they deleted our hold at this point, and what they did is allow us to continue on the route. The clearance would, in this case here, let's just say it's going back to teams, and then at teams continue on the arrival. So we're going back into the hold page, and where we have this exit hold, we're going to execute it, reverse highlight it. You're going to have to exit the hold. I see it. Okay, and the exit hold is armed. So I know that when we get to teams, it is going to turn and continue on the course. Notice that in the hold, our airspeed is at this best hold speed of 225 knots. Watch what happens when we get to teams and this continues on the arrival. You can go to the prog page now and look at what the fuel is going to be in Atlanta. So without the hold of an hour and a half, we're going to very comfortably get there with fuel that is well in excess of what we saw previously by holding there for an hour and 20 minutes. Now in this case here, when you're entering in the hold, again, use this heading bug. Always have the heading bug up. I was a little bit tardy on getting that done as I was trying to explain some things and point out some things. We're not doing as much chit-chat like I am here right now. You'll notice those things, but always keep this heading bug up. So we got a little bit more than a mile, and we'll see what happens as we turn here. Notice at teams, now it's going to make that left turn to go back to the arrival. Notice what happened to the speed bug. We're in VNAV mode, so the computer is driving it. And now we're going to go back to the previous speed that we were at. So this is going to allow us to continue on the arrival. This is heading us back to the next waypoint, which would be Flask. It's going to turn back to come back onto the arrival course. And notice that as it's accelerating back at this altitude, we've got full power, full cruise power here, and it's really accelerating slowly. Let's just assume at this point that they tell us to descend via this arrival. So again, incorporating what we have done before with VNAV descents, we can go ahead and set a lower altitude. That would be the 5,000 feet. Or in this case here, let's just make it, we're cleared to flight level 210. So we'll set 210 here. And in our case here, we're going to end this lesson here at this point. Now what we're going to do in this case here is set up another hold, and this hold is going to be at Flask. So let's assume the clearance is, let me go ahead and set my bug up here for this new course. The clearance is hold west of Flask on the 090 degree inbound course. Remember, with waypoints, the clearance is going to give you the direction of the area to hold, then is going to give you an inbound course rather than a radial. So the clearance is hold west of Flask on the 090 degree inbound course, right-hand turns, 10-mile legs, expect further clearance at 1815 Zulu. So all right, so what we're going to do again is go into the hold page. We'll have to go to the next hold. It's going to be a hold at Flask, so we're going to enter Flask into the hold position here. I can see again when I have this set up that I can see it's going to hold on the inbound course, but that is not what we want. And we can see the inbound course shows 241, and that is pretty much the heading that is going to be flying there. But we need to hold on the 090 degree inbound course, which is going to put us on the west side. So here we go with putting in the inbound course. I want to enter it in L3. So I have it in the inbound course. It's right-hand turns. I can see that the position is to the west. The radial position is to the west. And if I go ahead and change my view and scale it far enough here, it's hard to see, but that leg is out in the direction of 270 and it's 090 inbound. As we get closer, we should be able to see that. So what I'm going to do is reduce our, and again, this is a good use of the tools that we have. I want to reduce the scale to on either side to a manageable view that I have. I can see that here's the holding pattern on this depiction on the captain's side, but I can see it a little bit better in the expanded view. That's why that expanded view is always a better presentation. That is why on the expanded view, it's always a better presentation than it is in this complete compass view. But I can see from the expanded view here on the first officer's side that the inbound course is on the west side. I can see that inbound course radial is pretty much aligned with that 270, and I can maybe make out here on the captain's side that that would be to the 090 degree inbound heading. So the only thing I have left to add here is a 10-mile leg. So we'll go ahead and put 10 miles in the L5 position. All of this is reverse highlighted. I can see everything depicted on the nav display. And I would always encourage you, always when you put holding information, don't just put it in the FMC without looking at your nav display to see that the picture of the hold is correct for what the instructions are. I can't tell you how many times we make errors when we're just doing everything here. Now I also have to put in the EFC here, which is 17, and again I think we said 15, or excuse me, let me clear that. It was 1815. 1815, we're going to put it in the R3 position, and now it tells me that I can hold there until 1815, leave the holding pattern, continue on the arrival, and I would have an extra 31 minutes to hold if I had to plan on leaving here to with arriving at Atlanta with just my reserve fuel. So that the pattern looks good. I'm going to go ahead and execute it. Now notice when I did that, the pattern turned. Let me change our look here so that we have a little bit better view of things here. Again, and this is, using your nav display to really appropriately see the information that you want. Okay, so here we have a good view of our holding pattern. It's easy for me to see that it's on the west side of that fix on the 270 degree radial, and I have an inbound course therefore of 090 degree inbound heading. Now notice what's going to happen here on the nav display. It's telling me that I am about to reach the deceleration point, to slow to the holding speed. that is depicted in the R5 position. And that is starting to slow 3 minutes prior to entering the hold. So we'll watch that action here on the PFD, because again, we're in VNAV. VNAV is going to allow this information to function and operate the aircraft. If we were not in VNAV function and we had this information here, we would manually operate to slow the speed. And of course, if this information, notice now we're starting to slow down. Throttles are coming back, power's coming back, airspeed's coming back, we're coming back to the hold speed. But where I was is that for the computer to fly the holding pattern that is in magenta here, the other thing I need to be very certain of is that I'm in an LNAV mode. So I need to have LNAV engaged for the computer to operate the holding pattern information. And I also need VNAV engaged in order for it to function with speed. So what we're going to do at this point is, fortunately they said you do not have to hold at this point. They delete the hold on us, okay? So they're asking us to continue. So notice the waypoint is in the L1 position. The hold is in the L2 position. So what I can do in this case here is delete the hold at the L2 position. So I'm going to delete that. Notice that when I deleted it, it deleted the hold, but I have to execute it. I have to execute it. So we're going to execute it. And now notice what happened. The speed's coming back up. Throttles are coming back up. We're going back to normal speed. I no longer have a hold depicted here. But notice that I do not have a magenta line from Flask to anywhere else. So we're continuing on the arrival, or on the routing. So I'm going to put YOL in the L2 position, execute it. I'm connecting a magenta line. Let me scale here properly. And I can see now I have a magenta line from Flask to YOLD, and we're continuing on course. Notice now, when we go to the prog page here, we're going to see that we're going to again arrive with plenty of fuel. One thing I didn't do, I guess, in that previous session was go to the prog page to see how much fuel we were going to arrive at Atlanta at, but it probably would have been in the area of 9,000 to 10,000 pounds of fuel. So anyway, this will conclude session on holds. Notice that what we did cover is creating a hold on the hold page, verifying it on the nav display, ensuring that we're in VNAV and LNAV modes. We'll execute the hold after we verify the information that we entered in the FMC is verified with how it looks and the picture looks on the nav display. We've covered entering the hold and then exiting the hold and the characteristics of being in the holding pattern, and it's going to maintain that holding speed even once we're cleared to exit the hold. When we use exit hold feature, it's going to maintain the holding speed until it gets back to the holding fix. Then it is going to automatically accelerate to the normal speed, provided we have VNAV engaged. We've also covered how to delete a hold prior to getting to the hold. So there are two methods of erasing a hold feature. But if it's prior to entering the hold, what we can do is delete the hold on the legs page, join up with the next leg, and it will erase the holding pattern that is depicted and planned on, and you continue on your route. Hope this clarified some things about hold. If you have any questions on it, please get back to us through the feedback program. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Hope this was helpful.